And we're back on the Liberal Oasis radio show. This is Bill Scher with you for the rest of the half hour. If you miss any part of this broadcast or want to share it with your friends and enemies, always go to LiberalOasis.com for audio and video podcasts. And every Tuesday, everyone is welcome to come out to Drinking Liberally Northampton at the Northampton Brewery every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. On the phone with us from the American Heartland in Wisconsin, it is Pastor Dan Schultz, the chief blogger at streetprophets.com, one of the most vibrant and alive religious liberal blogging communities in the blogosphere. Pastor Dan, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Now, in the past few days, we have seen some fracturing of the conservative coalition. We've seen some of the leading conservative evangelicals express concern that there may be a person at the top of the ticket that's not committed to criminalizing abortion and are threatening a third party. And you had George Will, the conservative commentator on ABC's This Week, basically insult the James Dobson crowd as being sort of spoiled brats, accusing them of vanity and not having as much power as they think they do. What's your sense of how the conservative coalition is dealing with these hiccups in their coalition?
Not very well. And, pass the popcorn for the rest of us. This is great. They're having a hard time settling on a candidate to get behind. And the threat is that if they can't come up with a candidate who meets the bill for Dobson and his organization, they're just going to walk. There's been
Is that a serious threat, or are they just talking trash right now?
Well, there's been an ongoing debate about that between Matthew Iglesias and Steve at the Carpetbagger Report.
Two other blogs.
What's that?
Two other blogs.
Two other blogs, yes, I'm sorry. About whether or not that's actually going to happen. And nobody really knows. They have certainly been playing footsie for long enough with the Constitution Party that they do have some good connections there. And it's possible they may get behind someone like Judge Roy Moore or someone very extremist like
Judge
that.
Roy Moore was the person in Alabama, the judge that put the Ten Commandments memorial in the courthouse foyer.
That's correct. And the Constitution Party, under whose banner Moore ran for president in 2004, has been able to mount a couple credible primary challenges, most notably to Arlen Specter in 2006. Really scared the pants off the Republican establishment in Pennsylvania. So if they go that route, they may very well be able to throw the election to Hillary Clinton or whoever the nominee is. But of course, that's the terror for them. They might throw the election to Hillary Clinton.
Well, they seem to be saying they're willing to do that to prove that you need us in the coalition, so don't disrespect us in the future. But is it a risk for them if they actually can't take away that many votes? Would it diminish their power if they became a non-entity in the race?
Exactly. If they blow it, then they're in real trouble. So Matt Iglesias had the theory that it was going to be a primary challenge, not a general election. Because if they walk during the general election, then they are basically written out of the GOP power structure, which does them absolutely no good. So I think that's the most likely.
Well, what's been strange to me is, they have choices. They could rally behind Mike Huckabee. They could rally behind Sam Brownback. They could rally behind Alan Keyes if they wanted to. Why haven't they picked one of those horses and say, this is our guy, this is the alternative to having someone who's going to be, we're concerned is going to be soft on social issues?
Well, it's something of a mystery. The rap is that they don't think that Huckabee or Brownback or Tancredo could win. They're not going to go for Brownback because he's a Catholic. But those other folks, they've decided they can't win, except that they can't win because the religious right is not behind them.
Well, doesn't this already defeat if they can't make one of those guys top tier by their own weight, how could they make a third party candidate do anything on their own?
Well, they're never going to be able to make a third party candidate win. That's not the point. The point is to pull down the house around them if they're not in the driver's seat. That's the threat.
Now,
So,
while all of this, circular firing squad is going on the conservative side, there's still some struggles on the liberal progressive side of things, how to get a coalition of believers and non-believers to stand strong together. There was a report this week by the organization Third Way,
right.
and they had some recommendations on how progressives and liberals can reach out to the evangelical community. They reached out to you and shared this report with you. What was your reaction to it?
My reaction, I think, wasn't as positive as they were looking for. What they were talking about were ways to end the culture wars and end some of the partisan divisions and partisan rancor in the political system. But my reaction to that was, I'm not really sure what the benefit is. I believe very firmly in the idea that the Democratic base is growing on its own, and I'm not sure what's to be gained by reaching out to swing voters who are going to be difficult to reach and bring into the coalition under the best of circumstances. So I was not very convinced by the report. Other people, may have different mileage on that.
Well, now, you're always trying to grow as best you can and reach out to as many folks as possible and not be alienating. Are there specific recommendations they're putting out there that are obviously intended to reach out but would have a negative repercussion?
Well, what they would like is for there to be statements from progressives honoring the place of religion in public life and affirming First Amendment rights to speak about religion and religious viewpoints in public.
Now, you're a pastor. What about that troubles you?
Nothing. I'm not sure what the problem is here. I have not heard a lot of progressives running around saying, religion should be banished from the public sphere. Now, they do say that religious ideas and positions should not be above criticism. And absolutely, if you're going to be in the public sphere, you need to take the same kind of heat that everyone else does. But with the exception of a few very dogmatic people, I don't hear anyone saying let's just push religion out of the public square.
So those are more just sort of innocuous ideas that just don't really amount to very much because it's not really an issue.
Right. So this it was intended as kind of a conversation starter, except that it's really only one half of the conversation.
And what's the other half?
Well, that's the problem. It's not clear what that other half is. Because what you have this report naming are evangelical fears without a corresponding sense of where the progressive movement is.
And so the result is that it sort of opens wounds and doesn't close them.
Exactly.